Hi everyone, Comic Reviewer here. This time reviewing on Action Comics issue 351. Now, as you know, this is part 4 of the Last Sun story arc, and there is also a Superman Annual 11, which is meant to cover the last bit of the story. Now, again, the story was done by Jeff Jones and Richard Donner, as featuring General Zod and Ursa and Non in the New Earth continuity. And the cover, you've got Superman looking angry as General Zod and Ursa look on. And it starts off how Superman gets thrown into the Phantom Zone, and Superman sees into the Phantom Zone of what's going to happen to Earth and says, "As will Earth." Ah! And so Kal-El tries to fight it until hearing an old friend's voice, Mon-El, saying, "You'll go quite mad. Who? My name is Lar-Grad. You knew me as Mon-El years ago. Mon-El? You have to remember me." And so Superman remembers that he crash landed on basically Earth and had no memories of where he came from until one day he was exposed to lead that was poisonous to his race, and for a time that both Clark, who was meant to be Superboy at the time, thought that he was Kryptonian, and does feel responsible, and even tried to find a cure so many times. And Superman says, "I failed them. I failed you. I failed Lois and Christopher. I failed Earth. No, not yet, you haven't." Until he points and shows him a kind of Kryptonian jail-like area that was teleported in here by mistake by the Phantom Zone during a jailbreak with one of the prisoners, and that was blasted in. So Zod and Ursa used this as a way to produce a child, and pretty much Mon-El says, "Christopher's real name is Lord Zod. It's hard to believe he's one of them. He seemed so terrified when he saw his father. He should be, Kal. Zod and Ursa have been abusing their son for years." And you can tell Clark's thinking, "Good God, really?" And so they go in, but due to the fact that there's no Lelo Sunlight, Clark doesn't have the full strength of his powers, and Mon-El can't enter in due to the fact that the lead poisoning will speed up inside. As soon as Clark goes in, one of them, known as Dave shows up saying, "So I volunteer to wait." Dave I presume. And so they get into a fight, and he chose to hold Jor-El responsible for not joining with Zod. And Superman says, "My father did everything he thought he could. If he had worked with Zod, he could have destroyed the council. My father wasn't a murderer." And so just as he was about to gut Superman like a pig, Mon-El quickly bashes him with a metal pipe also, and have to quickly get him back into the Phantom Zone before he dies. And successfully manages to get him through. So Superman mainly enters one of the pods, and Mon-El does point out that not many of Zod's men did make it to Earth without it breaking apart. So he enters in and makes it back to Earth, where the Daily Planet has now been turned into a wasteland. And Superman looks on, seeing what General Zod has done, and has put humans and other superheroes inside. And you've got Kara and Supergirl as hostages, with Batman, Green Lantern, and everyone else. So, yeah, I would have liked to have seen Kara and Power Girl being a small resistance group. Could have made more sense with Superboy. So, we see Ursa pointing out that she's the only female with General Zod, and Lois pretty much points out that, there's no other females here, so Zod obviously took her as a kind of like breeder. And just as she's about to strangle Lois, General Zod says, "Do not harm her. This Lois Lane is of no use to us anymore, General." "She is of use to me. There is a reason Kal-El settled for Lois. I wish to find out why." And just as he's about to do something to her, his son stands up for Lois and says, "What do you think you're doing?" What Superman would do. And so Zod goes on to confront his son, and you got Lois pretty much shouting at him to stop. So we see Lex Luthor pretty much pointing out that, he was right about Kryptonians, and they should have listened. So Superman breaks in and says, "As soon as the world's in trouble, you retreat right to one of your rat's nests. I would have cleaned up if I knew you were coming." And so, just as he's about to use one of his weapons, Superman points out is that, he needs his weaponry, but Lex Luthor laughs and gets attacked by 3 unknown figures. And pretty much Lex Luthor points out that he's not going to team up with him. He's going to team up with his heavy hitters, Bizarro, Parasite, and Metallo. So in other words, they're going to be mostly the front lines. And this is the story. So what I think of Part 4. Definitely not bad, and definitely not too great. I think, it would have made more sense had Kara, Power Girl, and Superboy formed a small resistance group, and then joined up with Kal. I feel him doing it with the villains seems like it's been done before, but not too bad. I think the story deserves a thumbs up. Still good, and still right. So, Comic Reviewer here, signing out.